Welcome back. Now that we have explored demand, let's shift our focus to supply. Understanding supply is very important for analyzing how markets operate and how goods and services are made available to consumers. So let's to look at the new interesting topic in the economics we together, supply. So what is the meaning by supply? When we say that a farm supplies a goods or service, we mean that the farm meets three important key areas. First, resources and technology. The farm must have necessary resources such as raw materials, labor, and capital, as well as the technology required to produce the good or service. These combinations, in fact, determines what is feasible to produce. The second one is profitability. The farm should be able to profit from producing the goods or service, and this means that the selling price must be higher than the cost associated with productions. If a farm cannot make a profit, it will not have the incentive to supply that product. And element number 3 is definite plan. Finally, the farm must have a clear plan to produce and sell the good or service, and this involves strategic decisions about production levels, pricing, and distribution. So, in summary, if a farm supplies goods or services, then the farm has the resources and technology to produce it. They can make the profit from produce, and they hasn't made a definite plan to produce and sell it. Resources and technology determine what is possible to produce. Supply reflects also a decision. It reflects a decision about which technologically feasible item to produce. And the quantity supply of a good or services is the amount that producer plan to sell during the given time period at a particular price. In the next station, we want to analyze with together the law of supply. Now that we have established what supply is, let's delve into a fundamental principle in the economics known as the law of supply. This law describes the relationship between price of a goods and the quantity supplied by producers. So, what is the meaning of law of supply? Or what is the law of supply in fact? The law of supply states that all else being equal, as the price of a good increases, the quantity supply also increases. Conversely, as the price decreases, the quantity supply decreases as well. In simpler terms, we can say that when price rise, producers are more willing to supply more of good because they can potentially earn greater profits. At the lower prices, when prices fall, producers may reduce the quantity they are willing to supply since lower prices can lead to reduced profitability. So why this law take place? The logic behind the law of supply is that primarily this law is driven by the concept of marginal cost, and marginal cost refers to the additional cost incurred when producing one more unit of goods or service. As the production increases, the marginal cost typically rises for various factors such as resources limitations, increased labor costs, or inefficiencies that arise at higher production levels. The next reason that the law of supply takes place is willingness to supply. In willingness to supply, producers are willing to supply new goods only if they can at least cover their marginal cost of production. If the price is higher than the marginal cost, it makes sense for producer to increase output because they can generate more profit. However, if the price falls below their marginal cost, they will be less inclined to produce additional units. So in summary, other things remain the same. The higher of the price of the goods, the greater is the quantity supplied. And the lower price of the goods, the smaller is quantity supplied. The law of supply results from the general tendency for the marginal cost of producing a goods or service, and it increases as the quantity produced increase. And finally, producers are willing to supply a good only if they can at least cover their marginal cost of production. So in summary, the law of supply said that there is a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied, in a way that if price of goods or services increase, the quantity of supplied also increase as well. And in the other scenario, if the price of the goods or services decreases, the quantity of supply decreases as well. As you remember, this relationship is totally different with demand. In demand, we had inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. But here, we have direct relationship between supply and quantity of supplies of goods and services. Now that we have discussed the law of supply, let's explore together how we represent supply visually through the supply curve and supply schedule. So, the term supplies generally, as we understand it together in the past parts, refers to the entire relationship between quantity supply and price of goods. And we know that this relationship is direct relationship type. And a supply curve shows the relationship between quantity supply of a goods and its price when all other influences of producers' plant sales remain the same. So, in the supply curve, we can see this relationship together. Here we have two different elements. First, supply curve, and here, supply schedule. A supply schedule is a table that lists various prices for a goods or service alongside the corresponding quantity supply at those price. The organized presentations also show these different prices and different amount of supply. As you can see, in the point A, at the price of 50 cents, we have no quantity supply. We are here. Whenever the price increase from the $1, 1.50 cent, $2, and $2.50, the amount of supply also increased from the 6, 10, 13, and finally to 15. So as you can see, a rise in price, other things remaining the same, bring the increase in the quantity of supply when the price is increased. Also, in supply of energy bar in this case, when we had price at the y-axis or vertical axis and quantity supply on x-axis or horizontal axis. The supply curve is a graphical representation of the supply schedule. It plots the price of the goods on the vertical axis and quantity supply, as I said to you, on the horizontal axis. And for different supply price, we have different quantity of supply. And as you can see, this is upward type of curve. This curve type is upward. And we know that always the upward case shows the direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. Now that we have covered the supply curve and its relationship to the price and quantity supply, let's become more detailed view into the concept of minimum supply price and how it's related to the marginal cost. A supply curve is not just a representation of the relationship between price and quantity supplied. It is also reserved as a minimum supply price curve, and this means that the supply curves indicates the lowest price at which producers are willing to sell additional units of a goods. As the production increases, the marginal costs, the cost of producing one more unit, typically rises. And this increase in the marginal cost is for various factors such as resource limitations and diminishing returns. But what are the relationship between supply price and marginal costs? Lowest selling price is the minimum supply price is essentially the lowest price at which producer is willing to sell an additional units of goods. And this price corresponding directly to the marginal cost of productions. And the second relationship is willingness to supply. If the market price is above the minimum supply price or marginal cost, producers are incentivized to increase production because they can cover their cost and earn a profit. Conversely, if the market price falls below the minimum supply price, producer may reduce output or even stop producing altogether, as they would not be able to cover their costs. So again, in summary, the supply curve also shows the minimum supply price curve to us. As the quantity produced increases, the marginal costs increase as well. And the lowest price at which someone is willing to sell an additional unit rises. And the lowest price is marginal cost. Now that we have established what supply is and how it's operates under the law of supply, let's explore with together what happens when there is a change in supply take place. Understanding this change is very important for analyzing how markets respond to various factors beyond just price. So, what causes a change in supply instead of price? A change in supply generally takes place when some influence on selling plans other than price of the goods changes. And this means that factors such as production costs, technology, government, policies, and market conditions can lead to shifts in supply curve. So what is the effects of the change in supply? When supply change, it affects quantity of goods that producers plan to sell at every price point, and this results in new supply curve. First condition, when we had experienced increase in supply. So when supply increases, the entire supply curve shifts to right. And this indicates that every price level, producers are willing to sell more of the goods than before. For example, if a new technology is introduced that makes production more efficient, producers can create more units at lower cost. As a result, even if prices remain constant, the quantity supply will increase. The second condition is when decrease in supply takes place. When supply decreases, the supply curve shifts to left, and this means that at every price level, producers are willing to sell less of the goods. For example, if there is an increase in the cost of raw materials or if natural disasters disrupts production, producers may reduce their output. And consequently, even if prices stay the same, the quantity supply will fall across all price points. So in summary, when some influences on selling plans or other factors than price of the goods change, there is a change in supply could take place. And the quantity of the goods that producer plan to sell change at each and every price, so there is a new supply curve. But this new supply curve shift to where? Right or left? It is take place in the way that when supply increases, the supply curve shift to rightward, and when the supply decreases, the supply curve shift to leftward. This is very important role for shift in supply curve. But what are the 6 main factors that make the change, or they can make the change in supply of goods other than price, and they can shift the supply curve to the left or right? First factor is the price of factors of productions. Second is the prices of related goods produced. Third is expected future prices. Number 4 is the number of suppliers. Number 5 is technology. And finally, we have a state of nature. So prices of factors of productions. If the prices of a factors of production uses to produce a goods rises, the minimum price that supplier is willing to accept for producing each quantity also rises as well. So rise in the price factors of productions decrease the supply. This is important. It will decrease the supply. And when we had experienced decreases supplies, the supply curve shift to leftward. Next factors is the prices of related goods produced. A substitute in production for a goods is another goods that can be produced using the same resources. To understand this part, we need to first understand what is the substitute. And as we can see, substitute in production for a goods is another goods that can be produced using the same resources in the supply structure. The supply of a goods increases if the price of the substitute in production falls. So, goods are complement after substitutes in production if they must be produced together. And the supply of goods increases if the price of complement in production rises. So there is important to remember this relationship, these two relationships. First, here, the supply of goods increases if the price of substitute in production falls. So the supplies and substitutes have an inverse relationship with together, because when the supply of goods increases take place, when the substitute in production falls, they have an inverse relationship, supply of the goods and substitutes. But supply of the goods and complements have a direct relationship in a way that the supply of good increases if the price of complement is rises. So there is a direct relationship between complement and inverse relationship between goods and their substitutes. Please remember carefully these two types of relationship. The next factor is the expected future prices and the number of the suppliers. If the price of the goods is expected to rise in the future, supply of the goods today is decrease, and the supply curve shift to leftward. We know that any decrease other than price factor shift the supply curve to the leftward. And at the larger number of suppliers of the goods, the greater supply of the goods, and this means that an increased number of the supplier take place, and we know that when a increase in supply take place, the supply curve shift to rightward. Next two factors are technology and state of the nature. As we know, advances in technology create new products and lower the cost of producing existing products. So, by advancement of technology, we have two consequences. First, we create new products, and second, we have lowered the cost of producing of existing products. So advantage in technology increase the supply, and increasing in supplies shift the supply curve to rightward. Important relationship. So generally, in very summary language, whenever tech increase, the supply is increase, and this means that supply curve shift to rightward. And the state of nature includes all natural forces that influence productions, for example, the weather. And in the natural disasters case, we had experienced a decrease in supply. And decrease in supplies always shows with shift the supply curve to the leftward. Okay, as you can see here, we want to have examples. And advancement in technology, investment increase in the supply curve in energy bars and shift the supply curve to the rightward. So in this case, the supply curve shift to rightward because advancement in technology or increase in the technology. And as you can see in the same price here at the point A, 50 cents, the supply increased from the 0 to 7. And also for other parts at the same price at the $2, the price increased from the 13 to 25 because we had experienced advancement in technology, and in the same price we had more quantity of supply. We show it by shift the supply curve to the right. So figure 6 illustrates the distinction between changing supply and changing quantity supplied. And as you can see, changing quantity supply shows by changing price in the single curve. So when the price of the goods change and in other influences and seller plans remain the same, the quantity supply changes and there is a movement along the supply curves. So movement along the supply curve take place when the quantity supply change. And as you can see, when the price change here, the quantity change, and we move during the just one supply curves. Increase the quantity supply by move up, and decreasing quantity supply by move down in single supply curve. But if the price remains the same, but other factors influence the seller plans, supply change and supply curve shift in a way that we show increase in supply by moving it to the right, and we show decrease in supply by moving the original supply curve to the left by showing the change in amount of supply. Okay, thank you so much for your attention. The next topic will be market equilibrium, and we will be back very soon about the next interesting topic with together, market equilibrium. Be with us. Thank you.